Much. Kate Baldwin on Capitol Hill. Let's talk a little bit more about this issue with a key member of Congress. Joining us is the Republican chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Buck McKeon of California. Congressman, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Will.
You've made it clear that you're going to do everything in your power to try to avoid that $600 billion cut in defense spending projected for over the next 10 years from taking place. But how do you do that since the president has already said, he said it yesterday, he will veto any change in this sequestration or automatic trigger?
Well, it's like you were talking just a moment ago. Some people are saying this is a victory. Some people are saying it's colossal failure. I look at it as a very serious failure. This sequestration was set up so it would be so terrible on the defense and some of the other areas that there was no way they could fail. Well, we found out that that didn't work, but we're still left with these very, very serious cuts on defense.
Well, explain why these are so serious, because if you take a look at $600 billion, that's obviously a lot of money, but it's spread out over 10 years. And even if you were to average it out, $60 billion a year, it's something that the Pentagon could clearly live with, given where they were in their defense spending, let's say 2 or 3 or certainly 4 years ago. It's not that much of a cut in the big proportion of the increases that we've seen in defense spending in recent years.
If that were the only cut, that would be so. But you remember that we've already had one tranche out of this where we cut almost $1 trillion. I met with Admiral Mullen just before his retirement, and he told me he had given the chiefs $465 billion in cuts that they had to come up with for the budget that will be given right after the first of the year. So we've already got that 465, and I've been told now the number's 489. We're almost $500 billion that we'll be already absorbing in the next 10 years. And then you add the $500–600 billion on top of that. You're talking now not $60 billion a year, but you're talking over $100 billion a year over the next 10 years. I've had 6 hearings with my committees.
I was going to say, let me throw out an idea to save some money. The U.S. taxpayers, as you well know, you're the chairman of the Armed Services Committee, U.S. taxpayers are spending $2 billion a week in Afghanistan. That's more than $100 billion right there in a year. And a lot of folks are saying this is money being thrown down the drain. U.S. troops are supposed to be there another 3 years, at least through the end of 2014. Are you open to cutting back dramatically on the expenses involved in Afghanistan?
We already know that those are going to be cut. They have them in the budget going out 10 years, and everybody knows that that's not going to happen. The troops in Iraq will be coming home the end of this year, and the troops in Afghanistan are going to be drawn down, I think precipitously and too early, but they will be drawn down 10,000 this year, 20,000 next year before the fighting season's over. And then the rest of them are slated to be drawn down by 2014. I think what we're talking about, though, is broader than that. Look at what's happening in Egypt right now. When you did your New Year's resolutions, Wolf, this year, you probably weren't thinking about Egypt. You probably weren't thinking about Libya or Yemen or Syria or some of these other hot spots. We know that North Koreans sunk a South Korean ship that almost brought us to war this year. South Koreans say when that happens again, they're going to take action. We have several hot spots around the world, and we're the ones that are basically the only ones that are keeping our sea lanes open, that are keeping commerce. 95% of our commerce travels on the sea lanes. We have 7 choke spots around the world, and our Navy's been the one defending that.
Congressman, I know you're going to be watching our debate on national security and defense tonight. The Republican candidates here at Constitution Hall will continue this conversation on many occasions. Appreciate it very much for coming in. Thank you. Thanks very much, Buck McKeon. He's the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee.